What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of All About the Birds, the weekly report here on AATSN. I am one of your hosts, Chip at Chip for the Birds, joined over here by Johnny U at Johnny U9322, and a special guest tonight, a former NFL monster 10-year player, Mr. Al Wallace, a 10-year NFL vet of the Eagles, the Bears, the Panthers, who we might be playing this weekend, and the Bills. He is the color analyst for the Charlotte 49ers football, co-host of the Black and Blue Live on CSL Fox 46, and owner of Blue Bison Coffee. Al, what is going on, my friend?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys having me on to talk a little bit about the Birds, the Panthers, this upcoming game.
Yeah, man, we're excited to have you. I think the two teams are in a little bit different places right now, but I think it's going to be a good one. So we're going to get to that in just 1 second. Again, always, all of our sponsors are located in the bio for the show. So don't forget, just real quick, Statement Games, oddsjam.com, the AAT Sports Network shop, 99 Jersey, Manscaped, and La Terrain luxury watches. So make sure you're checking those out. And as if we've been reminding you, if you are watching the show on Twitter, which we love that you guys are watching the show on Twitter, they're still not allowing for comments from Twitter to us. So we will not see it. So if you want to comment in and get in on the action and the communication, watch on Facebook and or YouTube to get your comments seen and in. Okay, I did all that. Al, the Carolina Panthers are doing some things this year. And before we really get anything, like, what have you seen from the Panthers so far this season that has made you excited, that's made you concerned, things that surprise you? Talk about the boys in baby blue.
I mean, first, for me, being a former defensive end, it starts with that defense. You know, going into that Dallas game, which they completely got destroyed, I think brought them back down to reality. But it's a really good unit. You know, great group of pass rushers, Brian Burns, Hassan Reddick, a Temple guy, Shaq Thompson at linebacker, Jeremy Chin back at safety was, a very good second-year football player. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the brand of football. And then on the offensive end, bringing in Sam Darnold and have him come in and really be a steadying force so far, not playing like the Sam we saw the first 3 years of his career up in New Jersey with the Jets. It's been really good. My guy from Maryland, DJ Moore, representing the day for the Terps. We got Jermaine Carter playing middle linebacker. So many good positive things. I think starting off 3-0 and then kind of getting taken behind the woodshed this past weekend by the Dallas Cowboys brought us down a little bit. But you have to be excited about the brand of football they're playing here under Matt Rule.
And, you're talking about Matt Rule, and I want to bring up, talk Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold in Joe Brady's offense. And I know I think it's a different Sam Darnold than you saw with the Jets. I think that, he is older, but I think Joe Brady knows how to use, his quarterback and to be able, the weapons that he has. How do you think Sam Darnold has progressed from being with the Jets to now with the Panthers, and how does he look?
I think he looks great. I mean, he's turned the ball over twice here against Dallas, which was, kind of out of scheme and out of character from what we saw to start the season. But what has happened is that I think Sam got here and he realizes that he doesn't have to win football games. He doesn't have to be the reason that the Carolina Panthers win, that he can go out there, play his game, which is a really good game, a really consistent game. I think he's leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns. He had, Christian McCaffrey, who's been out here. But still, you got DJ Moore, you got Robbie Anderson, you got a talented group of offensive weapons. You don't have to press and force things, and we haven't seen Sam do that. So I think that's really made the difference with Joe Brady and the scheme and the offense that they put him in.
And I think that, you mentioned a couple things there. And look, it does start for us, in my mind, with quarterback play. So you look at a guy like Jalen Hurts, who is struggling to kind of get going, but he's playing better. He's getting better each week. And then you look at a guy like Sam Darnold, who was sent out to live on, islands out there in New York / New Jersey, wherever they want to play the game these days. And he couldn't catch a break. I mean, this was a guy. Now here's a guy who in college was like a surefire number 1 pick, surefire pro. So for him to take the jump that he did under Joe Brady, does that say more about the player that Sam Darnold is, or the coach that Joe Brady is?
I think maybe we're giving too much credit to Joe Brady and not
Okay.
enough to Sam Darnold. When you look at who he is out of USC and his talent, a great high school basketball player, very athletic. You see his ability. I mean, the joke here is that, we're calling him Cam Darnold because of the way he's been running the ball on the ground. I mean, I know that's a little jab and a little dig at the guy that we know who rushed the ball so well, and Cam Newton here. But he's a great athlete. The one thing that worries you is the similarities in this Dallas game and what we saw from the Jets is the breakdown of protection. And we saw that with Dallas. If that continues to trend, then we might see Sam Darnold make some rush throws, some quick decisions, try to force the ball into some areas where he shouldn't. So for me, Joe Brady's been great. I think he schemed them up. They're both learning to live without Christian McCaffrey. He's going to have to spread the wealth and get the ball out to the other guys. But it's about protection. It's about, Sam Darnold feeling comfortable in the pocket. I don't think he was able to do that his entire career in New York for the Jets. No. And I think we saw a little bit of that here this past weekend, which I want to get out of that feeling because I didn't like 2 interceptions. That took me back to, the past 3 years for Sam Darnold.
So you mentioned about, McCaffrey, and how big of an impact is it not having him on the field and going with a rookie like Hubbard, getting a bulk of the carries? How do you think the effect of not having CMC in this game against an Eagles defense, which the front is kind of what their strength is, on the other, that's basically all of their strength is right now.
That is the strength, Johnny.
I don't think it's as critical as we want to make it. We know he's a thousand guy, right? We know how dynamic Christian McCaffrey is out of the backfield with his ability to just really play backyard football and go one-on-one with linebackers and safeties. And Sam Darnold used that as a crutch the first 3 weeks. He would literally stand in the pocket and wait for Christian to come open and not go through a progression. So I think the thing that's hurting them is going to hurt them is J.C. Horn and now Shaq Thompson. That injury, those 2 things are more critical when you're talking about losing dynamic players than Christian McCaffrey. I believe in Chuba Hubbard. He was a good football player at Oklahoma State. I believe in Royce Freeman to do some of the heavy lifting. If they lean on those 2 guys, which they weren't able to do in Dallas, I think they're going to be okay because you have DJ Moore, because you have Robbie Anderson, Ian Thomas at tight end, so many other guys. So I love Christian. But it just goes into what the NFL has become. Do you really need the highest paid running back in the league? Do you win with the best running back in the league? History and the trends say, analytics tell me no, you don't need that guy. That's not a knock on Christian. He is fantastic, but I think he get it done in spite of that injury.
Well, so you mentioned having the best players in the league. Not that it's going to affect this weekend's game, but you guys just picked up quite a name for yourselves today, picking up Stephon Gilmore from the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
How do you see him, once he gets back off the PUP list, fitting into the system? How is he going to adapt to the system that you guys are already running out there in Carolina?
I mean, Scott Fitterer, man, he is – if you're not in love with the moves he's making, he made a promise when he got here that he was going to be in on every deal. He's been a man of his word. That guy is looking for talent. It doesn't matter how loaded you are at a position or what you have on the roster. He wants to get better. And for a 6th-round pick to get an all-pro caliber player and Stephon Gilmore is fantastic. Now, it's a rental. It's 1 year. Hopefully they can get him here long term, but he's talking about wanting to win now. J.C. Horn goes down. Not sure if he's going to make it back this year. You just picked up C.J. Henderson a week ago, and you go out and get another corner. And I think don't sleep on Dante Jackson. He's been the best guy in the secondary so far this year. Very fast, very competitive. Just a lot of confidence in his game coming out of LSU. I think that unit has gotten significantly better. If they can get all those guys on the field at the same time at some point, it's going to be scary. You have an 8th overall pick in Horn, last year's 9th overall pick in C.J. Henderson, and then Gilmore's, a former defensive player of the year. Sign me up to pass rush and get in front of those guys and play, man. That could be one of the best units in the league.
And it's funny because Fitterer literally said CJ is for the future, Stephon is to win now. Like, that's the quote. So even he knows, like you just said, Stephon Gilmore is a rental. JC Horn's going to. I mean, I look at that defense, and at some point, think about the division you play in. At some point, Tom Brady does have to retire. Now, I don't know when that's going to be, but looking at your Carolina team right now, do you see them being able to win their division this season?
I don't think they're ready to win it just because of what I just saw. That rushing attack and the deficiencies that they have. The injuries are starting to pile up quick. I think we're going to really see the loss of Shaq Thompson, who's been the MVP of the defense so far, finally getting out of the shadows of Thomas Davis and Luke Kuechly at the linebacker position and just feasting there. So I think that's really going to hurt them. But they're going to compete. I think they're a little bit better than the Saints. I think they caught the Saints at the perfect time. They're going to have to see them again. I think the Saints were better than they showed week 2. But Tom Brady and the Bucs they're just loaded. And you can't worry about a loss. You can't worry about an ugly game. It looked that way at points last season en route to Tom's 7th Super Bowl victory. So don't worry about Tom in Tampa and what they're going to do. Start looking at them in November and December when it's really football season, and you got to win those games to get down the stretch. So they got to deal with each other two games in 3 weeks down the stretch. So we'll see what it's going to be then. But I think by that time, Tampa's going to be head and shoulders over the crowd here.
So you mentioned about some injuries, Shaq Thompson, some injury effects that are happening on the Carolina defense. But of course, this defense is one of the best in the league. They have a lot of talent. And one player that they have is Jeremy Chin, who can do so many things on that side of the ball. Now the Eagles have, they possess a quarterback that can, they can escape the pocket. He can run. He can use his legs. He can, he can use his arm as well. Now, is this where a Jeremy Chin is almost like a spy type of player in this type of game, or do they use him more towards the back end of the defense?
I think if you asked me that question last year, I would feel confident about the game plan. Jeremy Chin was a hybrid. He played down in the box. They used him wherever they saw necessary in the game plan. This year, he's moved off the ball. He's back in the secondary playing like a true strong safety, which I think has hurt his game actually a little bit. We saw him in some situations in space not look too great against Dallas. Got juked for a touchdown, missed some open field tackles, and we hadn't seen that the 2020 season. So if you're talking about bringing Jeremy Chin down, spying on Jalen Hurts, I like the idea, but because of the injuries, because of how everything is shaken out, he's a safety back there, and he's been on an island. He's deep sometimes, and he's not able to help. Again, I'll keep harping on this. The person they're going to miss and that's going to show up the most is going to be Shaq Thompson. He's your guy, the most athletic guy on the field, in my opinion, that will be able to kind of do that technique where he drops in coverage and keeps an eye on Jalen Hurts. So I'm not sure who they have or who's athletic enough to be able to do that task.
The other thing I want to bring up too, almost, on the offensive side of the ball, you mentioned about protection. And to me, I feel like the offensive line may be the weakest point of the Carolina team. They have some players that, Taylor Moton is he's a good right tackle, but I feel that may be their weak point is the offensive line. And if they can't hold up, and you have, Darnold isn't the most, I know he's the most rushing touchdowns, but he's not the most elusive quarterback. How are you and also fans, how do they feel about this offensive line?
I mean, transparency, they've hated it. They've hated it all last year. It's just what it is, right? So you take a look at it, and it's bad. You bring in Cam Irvin, Paradis at center. I mean, they got exposed a little bit, and I think one of the criticisms from this organization over the last couple of years is how do you replace Jordan Gross at left tackle? Well, Jordan Gross retired maybe 5 or 6 years ago, so it's been a revolving door on that left side of this offensive line. They haven't gotten it right. They've brought in free agent after free agent, veteran guy after veteran guy, and no one's been able to stick. It's been a one-year deal. All the quarterbacks, starting with Cam Newton, they've been getting crushed. Sam Darnold, it's been the same thing. Cam Irvin's over there. It hasn't looked good. And the fan base is honestly just fed up with it. So it's one thing you have to address. As good as we're praising Scott Fitterer and the job that he's done, there were a couple of offensive linemen on the board at 8 that he passed up for J.C. Horn, and now Horn's on IR. So, and your quarterback's getting pummeled here week 4. So that better work itself out pretty quickly, because that's going to be a major kind of blemish on this offseason, these free agents, this draft, that you didn't pick up some of the guys that were there for you end up drafting your 7th straight defensive player under his era. So it's something you got to fix.
Which is great. I mean, and you've been mentioning the defense is at this point ready to take that next step.
Yeah.
But as a former Philadelphia guy, even yourself, the logic has always been, well, you build between the lines, you build on the lines, you build with your offense and defensive lines. And I look at the Carolina Panther offensive line, and I don't recognize a single name on that list. And I'm a pretty well-versed football guy. Now, Johnny can tell you what college they went to, what their meal plan was, what their GPA was, what their 40 top. I mean, that's Johnny's ability. But as an outside observer, I look at that and I go, they're going up against guys like Fletcher Cox. They're going up against guys like Javon Hargrave. Like, in theory, this could be a tough offensive day for you on Sunday.
It is. It's going to be more difficult and a bigger challenge than I think the casual fan might realize. Fletcher Cox and Matt Paradis, Dennis Daly, who plays left guard, Johnny Miller, who plays right guard for that's going to be a handful. I think you guys are just going to bring wave after wave of defensive linemen, some creative pressures to add in some linebackers and some defensive backs. And that was the formula for success in getting after Sam Darnold. They sacked him 5 times, 21 quarterback hurries, I think 11 hits on Sam Darnold last week at Dallas. He was absolutely pummeled, and I felt confident by saying it's awful because it was awful. You can go back and check the film if you want to, if you're, think I'm being overly critical of that offensive line. It's not good. It has to be fixed. And as much, as we can praise the offense and Sam Darnold, the weapons, the offensive line is where it starts, offense and defensive linemen, and it's just not good enough right now.
Well, and it's funny. He must have felt like he was getting knocked back, like he was in New York, playing on those Jets teams. Sorry, John, I mean to cut you off. I just that made me laugh about that.
One of our people watching commented, have you ever played against the Eagles? I know you played for the Eagles, but you played with the Panthers, played against the Eagles, and if so, we'll say who do you have to go up against? Who is the toughest guy to go up against? We'll go with that.
I mean, my teammates from the Eagles, you're talking about Trey Thomas was a beast. Florida State, good guy. John Runyon, those guys were just absolute studs. So those are my memories. Those are the guys that I can remember competing against in my time. And the last time I had an opportunity, you guys might want to plug your ears to hear this. It was 2004 in January, and we sent the Eagles packing in the NFC Championship game en route to Super Bowl 38. So it was tough playing against the guys in the link, against McNabb and getting after, all the guys that I played with for so many years. But it's a gratifying feeling to really come back where everything started and to get that win with that, that type of with those stakes on the line, I should say, to go to a Super Bowl.
But I want to get your opinion on this. Greg Favors, was that a late hit on McNabb? Come on,
of course not. Did they throw a flag? Of course not. No.
That's my big memory as a super young 12-year-old at the time.
I don't know if
That's my story. I'm sticking with it. No doubt.
That's okay. Hit. So I brought, bringing that up, you were with the Eagles in 99 when Andy Reid came in as the, a bright, young head coach into the league. The Eagles have a young head coach, first-time head coach in the league. And I want your take on a first-year head coach and basically the building blocks and what Andy Reid had to do. There was a lot of criticism early. They weren't playing very well. The offense was, I brought up last week, I brought up an article, the 26-0 loss to the Bills, and how in the newspaper, because there wasn't social media back in 99, in the newspaper. The newspaper article, you had, is Andy Reid really know what he's doing? Is he? And we got that last week after the Dallas game. is Nick Sirianni over his head, fire everybody. You know how they, Philadelphia media, Philadelphia people get a little overboard. What were your experiences with, a young head coach like Andy Reid coming in?
I think the difference with Andy, and I've been around John Fox, right? So 2002, I come here. John Fox is a first-year head coach. Those two guys are the best examples I can give you because they are so similar in the messaging that I heard, how the locker room, how practices, how they handled the business, top to bottom, right? They came in, they grabbed everybody around the throat. Day one, they didn't let go. They told you they were going to weed out the weak. They were going to find out who can win football games. They weren't coddling anybody. They weren't patting anybody on the back. And the team turned around pretty quickly. You think about, I just said, we were in the Super Bowl the following year, 2003.
Right.
So it didn't take John Fox very long. It didn't take Andy Reid very long to kind of figure it out and build that culture and to get guys to buy in. We have to remember that the difference between college sports and pro sports, guys getting paid a heck of a lot of money, right? So why am I listening to you? Well, in college, it's because you hold my scholarship. I'm young. I don't know any better. Pros, you gain favor by winning, all right? And you may not win like on the scoreboard, but you better win by preaching a certain message. This is how we're going to do it. Win or lose, we're going to stay consistent. Andy Reid was able to do that. John Fox came in with a ragtag bunch of guys and said, we can win, guys. Trust me. If we do it this way, we're going to win. We're going to play great defense. We're going to run the ball, and we're going to win. And he did it, and it was instant respect. I think for Sirianni, he has to do that. He has to kind of grab everybody around the throat. You're going to lose some guys, but the guys that you keep are going to be there. They're going to do a great job for you. And also, you got to win. You got to find a way to win. Young quarterback, same scenario. Donovan McNabb, Andy Reid. I mean, it's very similar. It's about winning in the NFL. That's literally all that matters. If you can't, you're going to lose the locker room. And I think if coaches, some of these young coaches don't do that, you can see the pressure start to mount.
You had me at run the ball.
Run.
Because Philadelphia right now feels like they are allergic to the run game. And, it's been Miles Sanders has had 10 carries in the last 2 weeks combined. So I know we're going to talk about that more on our half of the show, but it's just with young quarterbacks, with young players, it's so vital to run the football just to build that confidence a little bit at a time. So let me ask you this as a former NFL player. Obviously, you have those plays that you relive over and over in your head. What is your personal favorite NFL moment?
For me, it's just a couple, right? So my first sack, Chris Chandler, Atlanta Falcons with the Eagles. I'm a young guy. I think it's 19.
We may have posted that sack. I think
it's 98 at the time. So I grab him, I catch him, I believe, on a bootleg, lift him off the ground, kind of dump him on his head. I believe he's out for a second, but I just get pummeled by the Falcons' offensive line, right? Flag on the play. I go, game's over. I think we win that game. Go back to the locker room on Monday, and there's that infamous FedEx letter on my locker. I get fined $7,500. So first sack, best moment, also cost me $7,500. And then, and then the next play that stands out to me that was the most memorable was a play that I wasn't even involved in. I was on the sideline watching, believe it or not, and that's the X-Clown play caught by Steve Smith Sr. to send us to Philly for the NFC Championship. Double overtime, greatest show on turf.
Yeah.
Mike Martz, all the talent Hall of Famers they had on that roster. Just watching that, the feeling I had, I'm getting chills now. The volume in that stadium, it was unbelievable. Had nothing to do with it. Was on the sideline, exhausted, hoping that someone made a play. And the guy that we count on to make a play certainly did. Jake Delhomme, the Steve Smith, X-Clown. Perfect football play.
Yeah, and I think about, you mentioned Steve Smith, like you played with Steve Smith. So who is, and again, I love picking the brains of NFL players. Who is the best teammate that you ever had, or the one who is just like, man, I got to play with?
Yeah, I just, I'm going to give it, this is going to be about the Birds. So my favorite teammate, the best teammate, my best friend, the best relationship I ever had in the NFL is Ike Reese. So I talked to Ike today. I interview Ike for a Panthers Pre Game show I do here for Fox. So he sat down with me and we reminisce on all the times we had there in the Philadelphia and South Jersey area. So that's the best teammate I had. Just a stand-up guy, a great athlete, ran down on too many special team snaps with him. But the most talented teammate I ever had, it's not even close. It's number 90, Julius Peppers. Because of the sheer size and athleticism, Steve Smith will probably be a Hall of Famer.
Should be.
He had to work at being Steve Smith, the Hall of Famer. He was born with some natural gifts, but the guy outworked everyone. Julius Peppers woke up on his worst day, drinking a Dr. Pepper, eating a Snickers bar on the way to the stadium, and was the best football player on the field. The biggest, the baddest, the most athletic, probably ran a 4.40, 290 pounds, can dunk a basketball, as you guys know.
Yep,
the best athlete that I've ever seen. This guy it's just freaky what he can do on a football field.
He was one of my favorite players when he came out, and just watching him. And one of my buddies is a huge Panthers fan, and he's a huge Panthers fan because of Julius Peppers. Yeah. And he was just so fun to watch, and he did it for such a long period of time with multiple teams. And up until the very end of his playing career, he was still an effective player. He was just so good. And what you said, the talent level was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I think you also did play with, I don't know if it was your last year with Carolina, one of our friends and one of a gentleman that has a show with us, Jeremy Bridges. And he was offensive lineman, offensive guard. But it's just like what you said with, it's kind of for you, it's hard to pick one player. I know you don't really want to do that. I know Chip put you on the spot there.
I did 100% did.
No, it's not putting me on the spot. I think one thing about the locker room, the old football cliche, the eye in the sky don't lie. Those guys, I'll line them up. They know who's the best in the room. Yeah, we're honest. It's a bunch of egos. It's a bunch of alpha males. But if you're honest, I mean, Peppers played DN. So did I. So I know, that talent level. Right. I know what it takes. There have been so many guys, though. I mean, I made a stop in Chicago and played with guys like Urlacher and Mike Brown. I mean, Donovan in that group, Brian Dawkins, another guy at Philadelphia, some incredible talent. Bobby Taylor and Al Harris and man, I can go on and on. Troy Vent. I mean, I can just go on.
Talking about that secondary, you're making me sad because
making me a little upset that we have what we have right. I mean, look, our secondary is what it is, but it's no Bobby Taylor, Troy Vincent, and Brian Dawkins. I mean,
think about that, man. That was a group.
And then they had Sheldon Brown and Lito Shepherd.
Come right in.
Too, and then it's just unbelievable. The
act man in the middle, Jeremiah Trotter, holding it down.
My favorite Eagle of all time.
So many years, yeah.
And it's funny, like at the time, I didn't appreciate Al Harris. I was actually I hated Al Harris because he kept getting called for pass interference penalties because he was a young kid who was learning the game. And then you look at the rest of his body of work kind of after he left Philadelphia, he was a dominant corner in the league. So I didn't appreciate him when we had him.
And check him out now. Guess who's the coach? Who's coaching Trayvon Diggs in Dallas? Al Harris.
And Trayvon Diggs is responding.
It shows.
Yeah. So we do a live pre-game show for away game. So we're not going to put in our official predictions for this game. We are going to ask you, who do you have on Sunday? Why? Give me some sort of final score. And then the second thing we're going to have you do before we send you on your way and let you go and appreciate you for your time is we do this segment called Eureka Locks, which is it can be about any game, any specific topic. So if you think someone's going to get 20 carries and 200 yards, something that is going to happen this week. So a score prediction for this week and a Eureka Lock.
My score prediction for this week is 24-17. I think the Panthers find a way to get it done because that offense has too many weapons. I think they're going to find a way to keep bodies in, whether it's a tight end, 6-7 man protections to give Sam Darnold some time to get the ball down the field. DJ Moore is too good. He's really too good. I don't like the Eagles running game. And I love the Panthers defensive line. I think they're going to get back on track. Didn't record a sack against Dallas, but I think with a young quarterback who's going to be going through his progression and still trying to figure out how to make decisions with the ball, he's going to hold it too long. And Brian Burns and Hassan Reddick, another Temple guy, they're going to be on top of him pretty quickly. So 24-7 for me. I like Carolina. I give it to you straight. I thought all day about it. I had to submit that myself today for my pregame show. And it was tough. It was tough. After talking to Ike and some of the guys, I think the Eagles can be streaky. I think they've put up points.
Yeah.
But that defense they've given up a ton of yards.
To 24-17, Panthers win. And then is there anything that you see happening in the NFL as a guarantee lockdown?
I would have to go back, honestly, and look at all the games and all the matchups. I've just been so focused on this game, and I'm calling 2 college games this week, one Friday night down at FIU and another one at Gardner-Webb on Saturday. So a lot of prep for me. So the thing that I think that's going to happen, if I have to talk about, something I can predict, it's going to be we're going to get our guy Robbie Anderson going. So you talk about the deficiencies in your secondary. I think Robbie, I'm going to start him on my fantasy team. I think this is the week that he catches fire. A couple of deep balls. They got to get Robbie going. He's been thirsty for the ball. He's really wanting to get that ball. They're really trying to find a way to feed him. He's electric. He's
another Temple guy. Another Temple guy.
Yeah. They're all over the
Matt
place.
Rule loves his Temple guys.
He's everywhere.
And Don Conaway, who does a bunch of podcasts with us and is a teacher at my school, he's putting his lock in the numbers for you. 100+ yards and a touchdown. So
I see it now. Yes. Yeah. I like it.
So again, we want to thank you, Al, for your time. I mean, you were very informative, very knowledgeable about things. Again, Al Wallace at 96A Wallace. He's a 10-year NFL vet, so he knows some things. He's played for both the Eagles and the Panthers, to just name a few. He is the color analyst for the Charlotte 49ers football, the co-host of the Black and Blue Live on CSL Fox 46, and owner of Blue Bison Coffee. Al, is there anything else you want to promote or shout out while you have the platform?
No, that's it. I think you covered it, man. But I love the work you guys do. I still bleed green. I'm always torn on these games. I keep my eye closely there, still tied to the area, and have a bunch of friends. And we talk about the birds all the time. My producers on my show are Temple guys. They graduated, one Temple, one Villanova. So I'm never too far away from the birds. And I know I ran across you guys, posted a video of me a few years back, man. And what a memory. What a great time. Never mentioned Hugh Douglas, but that's one of my other great teammates, a great football player. I think deserves a look at the Hall of Fame too. Hugh was great. So this has been fun. I appreciate you guys having me on.
No, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. And, we're going to say go Birds on our end of things, but I know you probably can't say that. So just,
Hey, go Birds.
Hey,
go
all right.
Let them figure it out on the field like a bunch of men supposed to do.
I like that. Al, we appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, mother. So as we now move into the next, first off, again, another guest that just knows their stuff. It's fantastic.
No, it was great. Great insight, and a lot of things. Some stuff we knew, but some stuff we weren't really so sure on, and like the Shaq Thompson injury,
right?
Certain things that you're learning, and to me, I think his score is pretty good, indicative of I kind of think of what the game's going to be. I think it is going to be a close game, but there's a lot to talk about in terms of the Eagles. Looks like Jordan Mailata is practicing limitedly, which is limited. Hopefully, get him back.
I didn't realize his injury was that severe.
Well, I think they're just being cautious. You have to be.
Lane Johnson is back in the building.
I don't know what to make of that.
Something is wonky there. Yeah, something is definitely a little bit weird there.
I don't know. Again, looking at this offensive line, you get Jordan Mailata back. I think it's gonna prove dividends for your offensive line.
But before you get any further, you can't put Dillard at right tackle if Lane Johnson can't play. You can't do it.
Just keep Driscoll over there. I'm telling you, keep Driscoll over there. The offensive line didn't play poorly. They played pretty well. But again, you're facing a test in the Carolina Panthers, which the defensive line is a lot more explosive, a lot more talented than what you went up against last week. Brian Burns and Hassan Reddick, and you have guys, Brown. There's some guys on that are super, super talented. So there's going to be a lot to. That's true. Mike said this. Mailata can play right tackle if Lane can't go. Dillard.
But see, I disagree because
it is a possibility. It is a possibility, though. It's a possibility.
I disagree. And you saw it last season when they tried to send both guys out to right tackle for Lane Johnson, that neither of them were good enough to do it. And with Mailata getting the reps at left tackle that he has gotten, he is your left tackle of the future. You don't move him over to right tackle to do the job. You don't. You signed the man to be your left tackle. You paid him extra to be the left tackle. And Mike, I see that they cross-trained him this offseason. That's great. But until you do it on a Sunday.
It's, looking at this game, I don't know. It's hard to read. Luckily, we'll have a few more days to kind of think about it and ponder it. Predictions come the pregame live, which will be fun. But you look at Carolina's offense.
Yep.
And like I said, their weak point is that offensive line. So
yes.
Hopefully, you have a player like Fletcher Cox actually wake up and play a little bit of what he's being paid, because Javon Hargrave he's
doing it all on his own.
Doing it all. And hopefully we get some pass rush from the newly paid Josh Sweat and Derek Barnett. Hopefully he doesn't commit a penalty or two.
Ryan Kerrigan gets on the stat book. Like, there's so much. So again, this defensive line was supposed to be our strength, and yet they're just not doing anything outside of Javon Hargrave a couple plays, and it blows my mind. It blows my mind.
I think another thing that we have to talk about is what Jonathan Gannon said.
Yep.
During his press conference about we're not a dime team. We play two linebackers. And to me, you're opening up, offensive coordinators are salivating when you say that and when you talk like that, because what that is they can mismatch you from the start. They're going to put out 4 wide. They're going to be able to put out a guy that, look at, I don't know if you saw the picture of, it was like 3rd and 1, and the 2 safeties were all the way back.
It's Jim Schwartz all over again.
It's Jim Schwartz, but in a different dimension. I understand. The thing is, the defense that he wants to run, in Minnesota with Zimmer, they had Chad Greenway, they had Eric Kendricks, they had Anthony Barr as linebackers. In Indianapolis with Eberflus, they had Darius Leonard, they had Bobby Okereke.
They had the pieces.
Walker. They had the talent at linebacker, which the Eagles do not have.
They don't. And in fact, I know we like to bash on PFF, but Eric Wilson was the lowest rated linebacker in the entire NFL last week.
That's not a surprise.
That doesn't surprise me.
And it's pretty bad.
And that's with an interception.
With an interception, that is pretty bad. And I was all for the signing.
I think it's a great signing. I do. I still think it's a good signing.
It was a cheap deal, a cheap signing, but it's just, him and Alex. I want to see more of TJ Edwards. I want to see more of Davion Taylor. Let's see some of these other guys. Give these other guys opportunity, because right now, Eric Wilson and Alex Singleton, one are overrunning plays. It'll be a play action that they get totally off, and then basically they're out of the play, and then you have a huge hole you could drive a truck through. The running back with 7, 8, 9 yards.
Yeah, the
Wikipedia, the
Wikipedia page. So I don't know how quickly they took it down, but I know Barstool had it up there as pictures. But somebody got into Jonathan Gannon's Wikipedia, and he is revolutionizing defense with his luring them into a false sense of security by allowing them 30 to 40 points each week. And, I think for me, looking at this team overall, and I've said this before, and I've heard this before, and I've seen this before this year already, is we have the Walmart version of what we had. So Sirianni, who is run avoidance in his strategy, is doing the exact same things that Doug Peterson did, but he's just not as good. Jonathan Gannon is doing the same thing that Jim Schwartz did, but he's not as good at. Like, this team right now is just not doing anything well. I can't pinpoint anything that they're doing well.
Now, the one thing that I'm not going to say it scares me. It's you look into the Carolina Panthers, though, and you look at this opponent. They played the Jets, the Saints, the Texans, and then they had the Cowboys. The Jets and the Texans are not very good. Who knows what the Saints are? Like Al said, you're not sure what exactly, with them. And then the Cowboys are the Cowboys. We know who the Cowboys are. We saw them already on Monday night and what they did to the Eagles. And they scored 36 points on the Panthers. Houston, they beat Houston 24-9. They beat 26-7, and they beat the Jets 19-14. Yes, they're a talented team. I'm not going to say they are not a talented team. You could see that on the field. You could see that in the players they possess and then they put on the field. But to say that they're what the Eagles have played the last 2 weeks, that is not true. So, I think, here we go. I knew you were going to do this. I was going to do it too. I was going to put them all in my hat.
I did this on my show on Monday night.
I'm not going to say I'm not going to give them crap for having pens, because at work I have like 4 pens in my pocket and 1 on my shirt, and I use none of them. They're just there as like a comfort thing. It could be that. It could just be an OCD type of thing that he just needs to have 47 pens in his hat.
I can't even, I'm not wearing a visor, but I can't even do this.
Well, let me ask you this question. What's more annoying, seeing his pens in there or Matt Patricia with a laminated paper and a pencil in his hat?
All of it. It's all bad.
You got to pick one. You can't say all of it. You got to pick one.
It's all bad. Look, I don't understand. For me, looking at the team that's allowing so many points, I'm trying to make my point while doing this. Like, this is all right. That's all the ones I have with stems. So looking at this, what I'm so frustrated with is this team on paper, which I could then color code the same paper. This team on paper shouldn't be this bad.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, you got a young quarterback who is improving on the weekly. He is. He's improving week to week. Now, maybe not at the level that you want, but you're also asking him to throw the ball 50 times. Jalen Hurts was never going to be a 50 throw per game quarterback. He just wasn't. I argued against it when Peyton Manning and Drew Brees would do it, and Ben Roethlisberger. And now you're looking at the effects of a Ben Roethlisberger who is entirely washed up because of season after season where it was averaging 50 throws per game. Jalen Hurts is improving if you give him the right tools. A tool like Miles Sanders, but you're not using him. Devontae Smith, you cannot key in on this guy. You cannot just throw the ball to him over and over again, ignoring the tight ends. Jalen Reagor not getting open. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside being on the field but not doing a single damn thing. Kenny Gainwell being forced to be your power back when you have Jordan Howard on the practice squad. These offensive play call, RPOs or run plays. No, they're not. And if they were, you wouldn't get called for illegal men downfield. This team is not being put in the right position to win, and it's because the focus is on crap like this.
I think, and I know Jalen said we're this close. Well,
no, you're not.
He's right in the aspect of you're this close in terms of you could have scored a lot more points. You missed it because, unfortunately, of penalties. You have to get – when you know it's an RPO or whatever you're scrambling, the offensive line is going to do what the play is being called. You're not getting rid of the ball quick enough. If you're holding it a little bit too long, they're going to be downfield and you're going to have a penalty. You're having it. The J.J. Arcega-Whiteside penalty. That was a touchdown. The missed throw to Zach Ertz over the middle. There's these little things. But the thing is, the little things will add up. And when you're not superior talent-wise in terms of being able to overcome some of those things, it's going to affect you. And it affects you like the San Fran game when you missed all those opportunities.
Right.
Like this game, you didn't punt the ball once, but you were in
which
the
is
red
very
zone.
impressive.
You kicked 3 field goals against a team with an offense which is superior than yours, and Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Travis Kelce, you can't be kicking field goals. You have to score touchdowns. So for me, you're that close, but the problem is when you're that close, you're still that close. You're not gaining anything. You're not winning games. You're still losing. Whether you lose by this much or this much, it's still a law in the loss column. We say the same thing with wins. When you win, a win's a win, no matter how you get it. But also a loss is a loss, no matter how you lose the game.
Good teams find a way to win football games.
Yeah.
Bad teams find a way to lose football games. It's just that simple. The Eagles right now are a bad football team. They just are.
It's about taking those next steps to become better, and that's what this season's about. It's the development, and that's what we want to see week in and week out. You have a team like the Carolina Panthers, which, yes, they may be a little bit more superior talent-wise, but again, they're not unbeatable. If you do things right, this game is the winnable game. Same thing, you have to, of course, you take it one game at a time, but this is, you're not playing the Chiefs, you're not playing the Cowboys.
No.
This is a winnable game. You're that close. Well, instead of being that close, you need to close it, and you need to be able to do what you weren't able to do against the last 3 weeks, against the 49ers, the Cowboys, and the Panthers, is score in the red zone.
Yeah, I think even the one thing that Al just said before was, you have coaches like John Fox and you have coaches like Andy Reid who came in and they laid down the law. This is what it's going to be. We're going to be a disciplined football team. This Philadelphia Eagles team is not disciplined. They are on pace to shatter NFL records for penalties. Shatter. That's got to be your number one thing. We are not going to get called for more than 3 penalties on Sunday. We're just not. We're not getting called for them. We're not going to make the same mistakes over and over. Jalen Reagor got pushed out of bounds on a touchdown catch. What can we do to fix it? Certainly not come in a couple steps. Certainly not leave yourself room on the sideline. No, Devontae Smith is going to get pushed out of bounds on a touchdown catch. You cannot continue to make the same mistakes. It's the definition of insanity. Now, I am not going any further in saying we should be firing people and cutting people. I'm not doing that. We're a 4-win team from a season ago. We're right on pace to where we're supposed to be. But changes were made. Improvements have to be made as well.
Yeah. I just think that, you looking at this game, and a lot of it's concentration penalties, the jumping off sides, and stuff like that, and it's got to be reiterated. And I don't know how much of it is coaching when it's a concentration aspect, but it's tough because a lot of these free agent signings that we saw that we thought were going to be valuable,
they have not panned out.
It hasn't panned out. It's not like you gave them a ton of money. They're not huge contracts.
They were 1-year prove-it deals, but they're put right.
Deals. And we talked about that. You mentioned it. We all mentioned it. It was prove-it deals. Anthony Harris, and you have guys like Eric Wilson and Ryan Kerrigan. And unfortunately, right now, they're not working out. And even a guy like Alex Singleton is getting lost, cannot get off blocks. It's becoming tough to watch some of these linebackers. One, they're undersized.
But how much is it scheme as opposed to execution of that scheme?
Well, the other thing you have to look at is, are these players able to execute the scheme? Because if they're not able to execute the scheme, they're not going to be – they can't be playing every down. That's why I said guys like Davion Taylor and, guys like TJ Edwards, who's a little bit bigger of a body. And, Adam brings up Avonte Maddox. Avonte Maddox has played well in the slot. He's not, he's played well in the slot this year. That's where he fits. That's where he needs to be. Not an outside guy.
No, never.
And that's one thing. The one thing that Jonathan Gann said, we're going to play to the player's strengths. We're not a scheme-oriented team. We're going to play to the strength. But again, you're playing a lot of two deep safety, and you're not, 3rd and 1. You got two guys all the way. You're taking two guys out play. And what Kansas City did was they loaded up the line. You have a fullback in there, a running back in there. You can't, if you're going to go 9 on 7 or 8 on 7, you're at a disadvantage there unless someone gets penetration or you hope somebody, wrecks the play, something like that. But I think there's got to be, and hopefully he changes, but they're the least blitzing team.
It's Jim Schwartz all over again. The thing that killed me about Sunday's game was watching us get gashed on the run when they weren't like fancy design runs. They weren't elaborate. They were basic draw plays. They were basic delay plays, and we got beat for over 100 yards. And then to have Tyreek Hill absolutely decimate us.
Well,
it shows no adjustment. It shows no ability to coach during a game. You can pre-plan all you want, but it shows no adjustments during a game, and that can't happen. It's the NFL. It's what rushed Chip Kelly out of town. No adjustments over the course of seasons. It's what pushed eventually Doug Peterson and his people out because no adjustments on offense and defense. And it's what Nick Sirianni. So again, we're hiring the same type of coach.
It's
early. I know it's early.
There's some truth to that. There's some truth there. But again, you come into this week and, Mike says it here, Nick did call a decent game. They got in the red zone. Unfortunately, they weren't able to score the touchdowns. But again, you're going to be playing a lot tougher of a defense in Carolina. That we know. They are going to be missing some pieces. But again, overall, they are very strong up front as one. And their secondary is pretty good. But again, listening to Al, if they're not using Jeremy Chin the way they used them last year, that's a little interesting. And I don't know if Shaq Thompson's out, they may use him in that role because Shaq Thompson is very fast and can, spy on a quarterback and make sure, have him covered and stuff like that. But I hope they run the ball. We don't know what they're going to do with that, but
they're not. They've made it very clear that we're not a dime team. We're also not a team that's going to run the ball.
And for me, it's just you look at the Carolina game, and if they're able to not punt the ball, I think I know Sam Darnold's played better, but again, Sam Darnold doesn't scare me, especially with their offensive line. It doesn't scare me at all. If you're able to get pressure and you're able to stop them, and the offense plays well and they keep getting better, they take what they did against the Chiefs and they try and move forward, and they play well against the Panthers. You can be optimistic this week. It is a game that is a winnable game. So,
and we're going to talk. Look, we're going to talk about that on Sunday when we put our official predictions in. So, should we do
the Uleka locks when all four of us are there on Sunday?
No, I'm ready to go.
Okay. Oh, you're really ready because we were.
Am I ready to go? I mean, I'm looking at the slate of games right now.
So
coming up with my Uleka lock as we go.
If you want to play that,
sure, I will. But I was gonna. All right. Well, I was gonna promote the other thing first, but here we go.
Right, go.
It's time for the Uleka locks of the week. Who's your lock?
So let me recap last week. Chip's Uleka lock of the week was 85 points for Arizona and the Rams. They scored 57.
So you're saying I was close?
Yeah. No, you weren't close.
I gotta be honest. I did not expect the Rams to put up that much of a dud. Yeah. That was shocking.
Arizona is
Arizona's a team. And I know Jeremy Bridges says it all the time about how good this Arizona team is and people are sleeping on them. Yo, they beat the hell out of the Rams.
Yeah. So I thought it was going to be a lot high scoring than it was. Jeff had Tampa Bay winning by 21. They won by 2 points. So they still won, but it wasn't by that big of a margin. Mine was a total dud like it is every week.
We're going to have to rename the segment.
Yeah. 3 interceptions, and they lose by 21 points. The Jets won, and he had 1 interception. So the thing is, Aaron's lock of Kansas City having 1 turnover. He hit it spot on. So that's 2 straight weeks. I think it's 2 straight weeks. Our guests have hit the lock.
So we have to make sure that we have Al's, which is that Robbie Anderson's going to have a massive game.
Well, I said he has a good game, and I put Robbie Anderson a couple deep balls. So, because that's what he kind of hit, and that's one of the key points that he had.
Adam's marijuana usage is wonderful. Because Adam's lock on this fine Wednesday evening is that Miles Sanders rushes for 100 yards. Is that about how long the tunnel is from the locker room to the field? About 100 yards? Because I could see him rushing for 100.
For the rest of the season, then he'd win.
Oh, for the rest of the season. Okay, sorry. Adam, you have to clarify that, buddy. Appreciate you. Shout out to Adam. He showed up to the West End wearing my face on his chest right here. Like I'm wearing Kelly Kapowski. I know Mike is appreciative of the shirt. He's crushing on my nerps.
Topanga shirt would be better.
I have one.
Wear it on Sunday.
Aren't I supposed to wear like Eagles gear?
Did you last week?
I wore an Eagles zip-up jacket.
No, I didn't pay attention. I don't pay attention to your wardrobe. But
you should.
Yeah, I know. So go ahead. You're doing your research. What's your lock of the week?
So I'm looking at these games, and there's some really interesting games. But the one that is jumping out to me is the battle of the Panhandle, the Dolphins and the Bucks. Right? The Dolphins have no business even being on the same NFL field as the Buccaneers. So not only are the Buccaneers going to win, I'm going to say by 10. We'll cover my bases there. The Bucks are going to win by 10. It's a 3-part lock. You ready for this?
Okay, I got the first part. Go ahead. What's the next 2?
Tom Brady throws for over 300. And the Dolphins are held to under 250 yards of total offense.
You don't believe in Jacoby Brissett?
I do not. I think they're a better team with him instead of Tua, but I do not think that the Dolphins will have over 250 yards of offense, even with all the injuries to the Bucks.
The thing is, I'll take that because we own the Dolphins' first-round draft pick, and the more time the Dolphins lose, the better.
Bauer, I agree. Kelly Kapowski was my original Bauer Chicka Bow Wow. There you go. All right, what's your Uleka lock of the week there?
Looking at all the games, I'm stuffed because I haven't had one lock right yet. So
no, you haven't. You are actually currently totally unlocked.
I know.
I know.
I had this one, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to go, since you went the Dolphins, I'm going to go with the Monday night game, the Colts and the Ravens.
Is it how many times are they going to mention Philadelphia when they talk about Carson Wentz? Because that's not a stat you can keep unless you really watch the game closely.
No, I'm not going to do that. And I'm sure Louis Riddick will be talking about that and saying, throwing some shade at Philly for everything there. But I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens will sack Carson Wentz. It's going to be a 2-parter. I'll do a 2-parter. Since you did a 3-parter, I have to do something. I can't.
I know. I really wanted to step up my game this week because I've had so much luck with them.
Yeah. I'm going to go with he gets sacked at least 5 times.
Okay.
And has at least 2 fumbles.
Yeah. That's not like going out on a limb. That's like I'll take that Vegas money.
And 2 fumbles. Hey, I got to try to get a win one of these weeks.
Yeah.
So
no, that's I totally agree because we know he holds on to the ball. We know that this is gonna that's easy money.
A quick recap of our picks last week. I am in the lead now. I took over the lead. I was 11-5 last week, so I'm 44-20. JB was 9-7, so he's 42-22. Chip, you were 9-7 last week.
Yep.
Just want to double check. I know we do our spreadsheet, but I want to make sure that everything lines up. You put everything in there because you're 39-25, if I'm not mistaken, for the year.
Yes, because I had Monday night wrong. Yep.
Okay, just want to make sure. And then Jeff was 8-8, and he is 37-27. So that's kind of the recap of our picks, what we have so far. But that is that, and then I'll turn it over to you to do what you were gonna do.
No, so listen, this is, we do this every single Wednesday, and when there are away games, we kind of hold some of our cards close to our vest because every single home game, we'll do the full shebang. But for our away games, we are at the West End in Quakertown an hour before kickoff, and that's where we'll do some, official predictions and things like that, along with all kinds of amazing giveaways, lots of good conversation. So you want to make sure you come to one of our live pre-game shows and then watch the game. Again, that's so this Sunday because it's a 1:00 game, we will go live at like 11:55, 12. If you can't make it out, you can always watch us on the social medias, but you want to come out. And that's the West End in Quakertown. We appreciate you. And it is myself, Johnny, Mike, Mr. Clarissa explains it all, and that's a great point, and Jeff, who is watching a wrestling show right now. That's why he didn't want to come onto our show right now. Lots of great sponsors. Let's shout them out one more time. Lots of great sponsors, including, we'll go from the bottom and then we're here. Lots of Rain luxury watches. They can use the code AATBIRDS at checkout for 10% off. OddsJam.com. You can use the arbitrage calculator to not lose money. Statement Games, a fun, free twist on fantasy sports. Don't forget, we have our shop, the AATSportsNetwork.com/shop for all of your great designs, including what is currently emblazoned on Sir Uleka's chest right now. Although looking at that, it kind of hurts. And Manscaped.com is partnered with AATBIRDS. Use the code AATBIRDS for 20% off and free shipping at checkout. Your balls will thank you. Does that make your ear holes tingle?
I'm not going to say it. I was going to say something. I'm not going to say it.
And I'll be recording the new commercial this week, which, it's got a little bit of a festive theme, if you will. So I'm going to break out another one of my, snazzy accents, I think. It's already been Uleka approved, and that's a Uleka lock. Johnny, it's
chocolate cereal.
See, you're not supposed to tell people what it's supposed to be. Maybe it was going to be Frankenstein, and I was just going to, grunt into the. And people were like, "Oh, Manscaped."
I could be a pretty good Frankenstein. I got a square head. I could put bolts in my neck. Come on, just wait. Remember, the Eagles do play on Halloween, so
is it an away game?
It is Detroit. I think.
Do we have to do a pregame show on Halloween-y?
I think we do.
Dibs. I'm dressing up like the Lombardi Trophy.
You're gonna look like a big dick.
Which will be perfectly shaved because of my Manscaped products.
Oh, that's a good one.
Thank you. So on that, this show has gone completely off the rails. I'm Chip. That's Johnny. We will catch you on the flip side, and as we end every show here on the All About the Birds Network, go Birds! Attention, listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Australia to Houston. Do we have a pube problem? If so, our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation and brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Kick your pubes to the next planet with the Performance Package 4.0. The orbits in your pants will feel like you're in zero gravity when you use the best tools for the job from the leaders in male grooming. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS. Ready for an out-of-world experience, fellas? Look no further than the Performance Package 4.0 from Manscaped that has just taken off in not only the USA, but Canada, the UK, across Europe, Australia, South Africa, and Singapore. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag to hold your whole solar system. First, scheduled for liftoff, new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. This spaceship is here to guide you on a journey to trim your body, balls, butt, and even your anus. This 4th generation trimmer also features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. The Lawnmower 4.0 has a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multifunction on-off switch, can engage a travel lock, and is even waterproof. The Lawnmower 4.0 also has a 4000K LED spotlight you can turn on and off when needed for a more precise shave throughout your travels across the universe. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker. It's like having a little astronaut to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and ear. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Don't forget to use Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and their Crop Reviver to help your little planets be on their A-game while feeling the sun's heat. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts to their Performance Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Abort hairy balls and Buzz Lightyear that Woody with Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBIRDS at manscaped.com. For a clean trinity and beyond, your Spaceballs will thank you.